Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Konstantin, and today I want to have a discussion about mobility and flexibility and how important they are for fitness and, generally speaking, for us achieving and maintaining a good level of health. And obviously, I want to find out myself how I can become Flong and Sexible. And today I've got with me the best man for the job, Tom Morrison. Thank you and welcome to Escu Show podcast.
Thanks so much for having me on. Yes, Flong and Sexible is the mission for everyone in the world. It needs to happen.
It absolutely does, and I really like the play on words there. First of all, for those who don't know you, especially from the Romanian audience, tell us, the basics: the who, the what, the why, the how, the when. All those relevant questions. Consider that I've already asked them, and you just shoot off and see what we can find out about you.
Okay, well, for me, I had a very different background to a lot of coaches that would kind of teach what I teach, in that I had no athletic background. I had no interest in any kind of training at all when I was younger, and I actively avoided any physical education at school. I just wasn't interested. So all I wanted to do was drink and smoke and party. And it wasn't until I got to about 25 years old, about 24, 25, and I kind of went, I don't feel too good. And I was already really stiff. I was always moaning about my back and my hip and everything anyway. I couldn't bend over to tie my laces. I couldn't touch my toes. I couldn't squat, couldn't do all these things. But then all of a sudden I decided, well, I want to get fit now. I'm putting on a lot of weight here. And I decided to start doing martial arts. And I absolutely loved it. And I completely changed my perception of what fun could be. And it just completely changed my life. But my body started breaking down really badly because my mobility essentially was so poor in my hips and my upper back and ankles, everything, every problem that you think you could probably have. I've had it, and I've probably made it worse 3 times over, just to make sure. So I got away with things for a while. So I had a really great year of training, lost loads of weight, felt like I was getting fitter, but I was just getting more and more sore and more in pain. And then eventually I just started getting injured every couple of weeks. It was the shoulder, it was the knee, it was the back, it was the knee, it was the neck. It just kept bouncing around. There was nothing I could do. I just kept getting hurt. And even though I felt like I was doing everything that everybody else was in the classes, I didn't have good joint movement at all throughout my entire body. I just didn't, because I was never active when I was young, and your body, if you don't use certain ranges of motion, it just clumps up and it stops allowing things to move in certain ways. So then when you try and do something like martial arts or like ass to grass squats, CrossFit, any kind of lifting, and you don't have any good prerequisite joint movement, you just start to compensate in every way possible. And that's why you start annoying the muscles first. And
what were the first telltale signs that hold on a minute, I'm not where I should be, my body doesn't quite move? And was it creaking and cracking and popping, and what was it? Was it just the pain, or what exactly was it that made you think, I'm not where I should be?
It started off really subtle things. So when we were doing grappling, for any of you guys that maybe would do MMA, there was moves that I just couldn't do. There was the triangle choke where you had to put your leg at a certain angle around someone's neck and then fold your other leg over it. I couldn't do it. No matter how many times you showed me, I could not put my legs into that position. So that was my hip flexibility being so poor. So anytime I was doing ground stuff, I loved the striking elements. I loved to be standing up and punching. But as soon as I was on the floor, I was totally hopeless, totally useless. And I was like, why can I not do this stuff? I'm not stupid. Why can I not do this? And then it just started to become, after every training session, my joints hurt, not my muscles. So like my knees would hurt, my back would hurt, my hips would hurt. I wouldn't feel it in my quads. I wouldn't feel it in my hamstrings or glutes or anything like that.
No, because I was going to ask you, how did you know it wasn't your muscles or your tendons and it was your joints?
Yeah, it was the actual connections of the joints. So rather than like above your quad muscle being sore, my direct knee joint would be sore. Just anything, it just nothing felt right, and I always felt run down. I always felt like I was putting in way more energy than I should have been. And now, knowing what I know now, I know what you're supposed to feel like after a training session, and it's
Because
supposed to be.
a lot of the personal trainers and coaches say, listen to your body and do what your body tells you, but you don't quite know, especially if you're not in the know, if you're not in that particular field, you don't know what to listen to, do you?
No, exactly. And you think that what you're feeling is normal and that everybody else feels that way.
Exactly, and you get
Don't
used
quite
to it,
know.
and it's like, yeah, this is how I feel after a training session. I feel sore, but you shouldn't really feel sore. You should feel energized. You should feel full of beans. You should feel like, tired, generally speaking. But
I always say when you leave the gym, you should feel like you could flip a car on your way home. You should just be able to flip a car over. You shouldn't be dragging your heels and
I
trying to
used to
get
get that
back.
feeling after a kung fu movie when I was a kid.
Yeah. um, yeah,
uh,
you're exactly right there. It's like people don't know. You don't know what you're supposed to feel until you've known the other side of it, until you've actually been through it and actually tried to increase your muscle awareness and your flexibility and your mobility and how things feel. You don't know the difference and you just think it's normal. And you'll actively seek out people that feel the same as you, because you'd be like, oh, my knees hurt after training. And if someone doesn't agree with you, you'll try and say it to someone else and they'll be like, mine too. And then you'll almost like self-confirm it with yourself that it's normal. So it's really not. You shouldn't be walking around like everyone always asks, like, what's the normal level of pain? It's like it's zero. It shouldn't be any. You shouldn't be walking around at like a 0.5.
no pain, no gain. Perhaps that's a little bit said too often.
It can be, yes, definitely. There's a difference between pain from pushing yourself and challenging the muscles more and just being sore because you aren't doing things right or you're doing too much too soon.
That's
So
the thing.
it's a big thing. If you don't have an athletic background, if you were never professionally coached when you were younger, you just don't have a basic level of flexibility and stability in your body, and you
I
need to do
couldn't
that
agree more.
first.
I couldn't agree more because there's one level you can speak to a professional athlete who knows his or her body, who knows exactly when the pain comes from the micro fissures, from the micro lesions that the pushing the muscles gives you, and where you're progressing, and just the average Joe like myself who about 10, 12 years ago got into cycling, and I liked it so much that I wanted to push myself more and more and more. And this is my background basically, because obviously it's not fair on you. You don't know me at all. And basically every time I pushed myself a little bit more, I was in pain a bit more. And everywhere I looked for advice, it was, well, no pain, no gain. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Just listen to your body. And I was like, yeah, but you're a professional or an ex-professional cyclist. You're used to this. You know what is wrong. I didn't know that the saddle position or the length of the stem or certain things are making your position on the bike better or worse. And it's like you said, the compensation of your body is amazing because your body tries to adapt and tries to overcompensate from one side to the other and the other way around. And it's like, yeah, this is how I should feel. It's fine. I've done a 40-mile long ride. So this is how I feel. This is how knackered I am. This is how in pain I am after a 40-mile ride. And when I first came across your stuff on Facebook, I must say I was literally blown out of the water. Blown out of the water. It was like, really? I shouldn't feel pain at all? And thank you very much for accepting the invitation. I really appreciate it. I know you're a very, very busy man, and I'm going to try and be as brief as possible in all my questions. Like I said, I've got about 4 pages of questions, stuff that I want to ask you, and it's genuinely amazing how good you are at explaining what you're explaining. You're probably one of the funniest coaches out there. Nothing
Thank you
like
very much.
and it's. I'm not trying to kiss ass here or anything like that, but the way you use your humor in your stuff doesn't really affect at all the content. If anything, it enhances it and it makes it so much more pleasant to watch. And
That's
your
for
accent,
me.
your Northern
Yeah.
Irish accent, is absolutely amazing. I love it. I love listening to it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for me, like learning all this stuff is incredibly boring. and I get very distracted very easily. So whenever I was wanting to present it as well, I was like, it's got to be done differently. People are already annoyed and sore. They don't want to be bored as well. So we were always like, we got to make this fun, and actually, and seem achievable as well. If you're using complicated words and you're taking yourself really seriously, it doesn't feel attainable. And the people that we mainly help are just real people that want to get a bit fitter or start something new, or just not feel sore or bad in their own body, kind of thing. So it has to be approachable, and being friendly and having a bit of fun as well is so important, I think.
You take it very seriously. I mean, the stuff that you teach is very serious and is very professionally explained, but in the same time is very approachable. And this is what I like, and that's why I love watching your stuff on Facebook. And I must say, there's like I said, a lot of stuff that I want to ask you. But first of all, tell us a little bit about your background growing up. Just so we can resonate with the kind of person that gets to the level of knowledge and ability and capability that you are at now.
Well, again, for me, and one of the best things for me was my inactivity when I was younger as a coach now, because I know what it's like to not be able to move properly. I know what it's like to not be able to have any body awareness. I just wanted to play computer games whenever I was younger. I had no interest in any kind of fitness at all. So I was having to learn as an adult how to move. I had no coordination, no anything. And a lot of people can just assume that they're clumsy. But if you're not learning new things, if you're not ever trying to challenge yourself, then your brain's just essentially not getting developed in that way to be able to figure out problems. So like one of the first, I did actually get into music, which then started to give me more of a thought process and how to build things and be more creative and stuff. So that was a really big help for me. So in terms of some
Music
weird
and sports, wow.
No, musical sports, but in terms of
You'd
like
never think about that as putting them together.
That would be pretty impressive, having to play a flute while kicking a ball. But yeah, it's more the thought process. It's more about learning new things. So mobility, like overall, you're thinking about what your body can do and how confident you feel. And sometimes just improving your hand-eye coordination can be enough. So from you learning a musical instrument or learning how to juggle, you're going to be making your body more aware of where its bits are, and that's going to help you in other ways. And it's something that often gets missed. A lot of people just think that they just need to stretch to feel better, but you don't just stretch. You want to build strength, you want to build balance, you want to also just be aware of where your hands are, where your feet are, and be able to actually react in certain situations. So it's such an important thing. If your brain feels slow, like if someone threw something at you and you wouldn't be able to react, you're going to move around the world slower. You're not going to be as forthright and jumping into situations. Your body's going to slow you down a bit. And that's something that you'll see with people whenever they get much, much older. If they haven't worked on their single leg balance for a lot of years, their hips will stop moving in certain ways. They'll start to drag their feet to walk. They'll kind of hunch over more, just because their body itself, it's not a conscious decision. Their body itself goes, you might fall. So it makes all the muscles shorten and tighten so that you can't take big steps anymore. And that happens as a byproduct of you not working on those things for many, many years. So it's so important to get this stuff into you in your early 20s, never mind any time later, because a lot of people will come into starting to take more care of their body like after their kids are a bit older and stuff. So you're talking like 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're like, all right, okay, I'm going to make some more time for myself now. And it's so much harder to then start that journey after you've racked up these years of habits. So people try and chalk things off to age being a problem, but it's more that you've just got, say, 20 years of not moving your joints like joints properly. And that's what you're fighting against. Whereas if you had just been moving and doing mobility work for all them years, you probably would have felt okay. I'm not saying you'll be 100% bulletproof, but you won't have lost function in certain joints.
The thing is, moving and doing stuff and being active should be conceived genuinely as part of what we are. We are built in such way that we need to move, we need to lift, we need to run, we need to do stuff with our bodies. But we go through these craze periods where fitness is really important and is really cool to be healthy and do all sorts of sports and stuff. And then you've got periods of times where you get told that you're fine the way you are, you're beautiful the way you are, you don't need to do much, just love yourself the way you are. Obviously, as a fitness coach and as a personal trainer, you must have seen through the years or messages like that sometimes perhaps are being told a little bit too loudly. Don't you think that's confusing to most people?
Absolutely, and it's our mission for what we do to separate what mobility is and what exercise is, because you can, like you said, go through those periods of trying to get super fit or super strong or push yourself or run a marathon and do all those things, but the stretching and the mobility and the joint movement always has to stay. You can't just not, if you're not exercising, then you don't move at all. So then it's just sofa time. It doesn't work that way. Mobility has to be a non-negotiable thing. You need to move your joints like joints all of the time, so that then when you do go through those periods of wanting to push yourself harder, you're able to. Whereas if you are only moving when you're exercising, then it's just not enough. And it's not enough to counteract what we all pretty much do these days of just sitting on, Zoom or on our phones. It's not enough to counteract. People should be moving as soon as they get up first thing in the morning, checking how their joints feel, and then throughout the day, getting up, stretching their upper back, stretching their hips a little bit, taking little breaks here and there, not just sitting the entire day. There's
So
no way.
do you think we're set up wrong? The society and the jobs and the job market and the types of jobs that we're doing are perhaps not the healthiest for us as people, as beings with bodies that need to move.
Absolutely. And it's not even, there's other jobs as well. If you say you would be on your feet all day, it's the static position that's the problem. It's sitting all day is just as bad as standing all day, or having a job that would be highly repetitive of just like doing one thing all day long with like one side of your body. That those things are all just as bad as each other. And it's the full joint movement that's the secret. And even if we bring it back even to the likes of cycling, why people end up so sore with cycling is because it's a very rounded back position. There's no hip extension in it, and there's no work on balance at all in it and core strength. Yes, there's balance on the bike, but I mean like one-legged, single leg balance and working your hamstrings, being explosive, jumping, things like that. They're all getting missed. And that's why you can actually see someone that are incredibly fit, have six packs, could, run rings around people, but they're in agony because they're missing the full joint movement. That's the thing that's absolutely key. Your body only works in a certain way. And the things that we like to do for fitness or the things that we do for work don't move like a body moves,
I just noticed that I didn't really get too far on my bike until I started stretching, and I'm not on about just the usual stuff that you do in the morning or just before you get on your bike. I'm on about little yoga poses and yoga stretching and stuff like that, and I immediately within days noticed an improvement.
Yeah.
But then I watched your stuff, and apparently quite a lot of these movements are not enough because they're incomplete or because they lack little bits and bobs that would help us in our general activities. And this is where I get to SMM and what made you, basically what motivated you to come up with this and try and make the whole world Flong and Sexible.
SMM was what I wanted to give myself if I could have at the time. If I was able to go back in time to myself when I was like for giving up absolutely everything, it was just after I'd injured my back. I was sick of injuries. I couldn't stand up straight, couldn't set my left foot on the floor. I had really bad, two really badly injured discs, and was just for packing everything. And I was going to stop coaching. I was going to give up my career as a coach because I was in so much pain and just beaten down. If I could have went back in time and just do this in this order and be consistent with it, that's what I wanted to give myself.
Was that your Eureka moment? Was that your moment when you said to yourself, right, I need to help people not to get through what I'm going through now?
Yeah, because it's a very dark place. It's a very lonely place when you're talking about chronic.
I read your story. I went on the website, which I will leave in the description of this video, and I read the story and I was like, wow, this guy was nearly disabled.
Mm. Well, I wouldn't say disabled, but
they're very close to becoming that.
To move. Yeah, the only reason that I ended up making myself better was because it took so long for me to get my MRI scan. So I'd made myself pain free by the time I'd got my MRI scan, and then it showed me that I had the injuries. If I'd have got that
Wow.
MRI scan before I tried to do anything, I would have been one of the people that think, oh, I need to protect my back now. I need to make sure I don't lift. I need to make sure I don't move. And that is the worst thing to do if you have any disc injuries. To not make
Is it?
yourself stronger, to not keep your hips strong. You do not want to compound weakness and a lack of stability on top of an existing disc injury. So the only thing that I have now is I can't really feel my left glute the same way as I feel my right one, and I can't really move my toes in the same way on my left foot as I can my right one. But I have no pain, and I train just as anyone else would. I do ridiculous things all of the time. I do handstands, deadlifts, Olympic lifts, everything that I want to do, and I'm not scared to ever do anything. I'll even do rounded back deadlifts, Jefferson curls. And it's mainly just to show people. I would do things sometimes called crazy supersets, where I would do like a ridiculous bunch of lifts in a row, and even ones that would be controlled bad form, which is different to having bad form, trust me. But just to show people, like, I'm totally fine and you can be too. There's a narrative that's going around that if you have any kind of injury in the disc that you should be trying to protect it.
But it
But
is counterintuitive. I'm listening to you now and I'm like, if you're injured, you should be what are you telling me?
And it's because it hurts to move whenever you're in that stage. But what you're going through at that time is a stage of hypersensitivity. And that will reduce if you keep working with it and actually teaching your body how to relax and teaching yourself how to breathe better, and actually starting to distinguish the difference between a bad pain or muscle hesitation. So that's the way I like to kind of break it down, is like, is it actually a bad pain, or is it you just feel like the muscles are starting to go, oh, I'm not sure about this, and tightening up? Because that's very, very different. Because if you just hang out in that position for a while that you're feeling a sensation in, you will be able to change it yourself just through moving back and forth through it gently. So it's something that's actually a trainable skill. You can learn how to train yourself out of being in bad pain, like to that extent. So if you can take those concepts and put them to people before they even get injured and they already know this stuff, then there's less chance of them ending up in that stage that I was. So all of the things that helped the most amount of people most is what's been put in the SMM. And what I did was basically go, okay, so people are stretching and not getting anywhere. People are doing core activation and not getting anywhere. People are doing Pilates and not getting anywhere. People are doing yoga and not getting anywhere. Why is that? And it's because you need to take elements of all of them. So what I did was take the stretching elements first. So you work on alignment of the joints and making sure the muscles are moving in the way they should, the joints are moving in the way they should. Then you do your core work. Then you do your activation. When you're actually straight, whenever you're actually in a good position, then you do your strength work after that. So that's why SMM is in the order that it's in. That's the way that you should do things when you're working on things, and what people accidentally do. So some people are doing some of the right stuff, but they're not doing it in the right order. And that can be really bad. So you imagine if your hips are slightly twisted, every plank you do is slightly twisted. So it's not going to help. You're just basically strengthening that kind of rotated position. So it can sound complicated, but it's actually that what we do is simplify things, and it is just take those movements seriously and work on them and do them consistently, and you'll be fine. And I like to compare it almost to like the nutrition world, where everyone just goes calorie deficit. And for me, it's like, well, all I'm saying is make sure your joints are working properly. And that, to me, now sounds like common sense, and it's very easy for me to say that, but it took me a lot of years to learn that. And they
Sometimes the simplest stuff has the most complicated consequences. And I was a little bit amazed that you call it simple, SMM, because it's not really that simple to comprehend, even though it's simple to do, or it might be simple to do once you get it. It's not really that simple to get it in your head first. And this is where you come in, you and Jenny, and showing exactly what could be done with very simple movements. Mm-hmm. How did you put it together? Tell us the story behind the SMM.
I was starting to build my reputation. So whenever I was just fully in person as a coach at that time, I was working with anybody and everybody that I could do, because it wasn't my full-time job at that time. So I was a complete gym rat. I just wanted to live in the gym, and I was training people for free and just wanting to work with as many people as I could, because I wanted to see how this stuff worked with as many different people as possible, because, people will react to different things. Some people are too flexible. Some people are inflexible. Some people are like really tight on one side. Some people are like half one side, half the other. Everybody's different. So I was looking for the things that hit people the most in the fastest way. And I was just like, drop-in exercises left, right, and center, things that, you know, that have been like in the physiotherapy world for years. I was going, this doesn't work, and like discarding it and going, this is better, and starting to realize that if you just started to work on the function of the hips, especially. So you've got flexion, extension, internal rotation, external rotation, you've abduction and adduction, and there's also a little element of the hips that they can move vertically side to side as well, like that. And if you start to address all of those things and have good tests for those things and teach people the movements for those things get better. And then you don't need to think about, oh, it might be the psoas, oh, it might be the piriformis, oh, it might be the glute med. Nobody actually knows. That you can't blame one muscle. It could be just that the joint's not being moved the way it should be regularly. So something's hurting. And that's why you'll see people getting bouncing pains. It'll be their lower back one week, their knee the next week, their hip flexor the week after that. And it's just because they're not doing the full joint movement regularly. And that's how you can address it in the fastest way possible. And that's what I started to build with SMM, essentially. So I was doing it in person for a long, long, long time. And I was getting to a point, almost not actually, but I was getting to a point as if people were coming into me like a car. And I was going, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And they were going, no. And I was going, I'm so shocked. I can't believe it. You know, in that kind of way. I was just like, I was starting to get cocky about it, because it was sort of like, nobody can do this stuff, and it's really important. And I was just seeing people like a couple of years previous to me of where I was at, and I was like, see, if you don't address this in the next year, I can tell you exactly what's going to be sore. You're going to be falling to bits if you don't work on this now, because that's what happened to me, and that's what happens to all these other people. So it started to turn into its own system, and then I eventually realized that the order of things as well. So I kind of had the movements, and I was kind of knowing what to assess, and then it was like, how could I put this into the best way to do things? And then it kind of started to turn into its own sort of list of exercises. And then I was like, if I teach this really well, I don't even need to be here. I could make this into an online program. And that's where, like, I'd met Jenny at the point, and Jenny was great. Jenny was like one of the final pieces of the puzzle for the whole thing, really, because she's hypermobile. So she's too flexible. So she wouldn't have struggled with half of the SMM exercises, but she really struggled with the other half. The activation half, the core half.
That's the thing. That's the thing, because she was at the other end of the graphic, wasn't she?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where it kind of all came together. And I was like, oh, you don't need different movements. You need the same movements. You just need to do them in an approach that works for if you're inflexible or not flexible. So the people that do SMM that would be in my background of being inflexible will struggle mainly with the first half and be like, how am I supposed to do that? But the second half won't be so bad. People like Jenny will find the first half easy and will be laughing. But the second half, they'll be like, this is really hard. And it's that combination of both. That's your Flong and Sexible. So that's your strong and flexible. That's what that means. That's what brings it all together.
She's strong, man. Did you see her muscles when she does a handstand? When she's doing push-ups.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jenny has way more discipline than what I would with stuff. So like we started trying to do a lot of the same stuff at the same time, but she's way more disciplined with the stuff. So she would like go way further down it.
She can do the backflip that you can't.
Yeah, exactly. I try things a couple of times and go like, I'm happy enough with that. And I will go off. You know, my handstand's like a banana handstand, but Jenny's doing perfect handstands now, holding the sevens pose and everything and all. So we're a very good team in that way, that I'm very like, I've no attention span and trying to get out and do everything. And Jenny's like, no, I need to fix this, I need to work on this. So we're very good business partners that way as well. So
you have your firmness. I mean, you're not the kind of guy that you get too cocky or go around trying to teach belly dancers how to belly dance properly or stuff like that. But you do have your rigorosity in your program. And how did that come about? How did you put it together in such a way that it is actually structured and it will continue to help people? Because it's very easy to just go to a level where you're the guru and people need to listen to you, and anybody not listening to you is not worth a damn. Because you see a lot of coaches going, just, do this, you don't do that, don't even speak to me.
No, I very much know my place in the world of what we do. And it's like, I see myself as someone that you should come and see like first almost, and deal with me for a while so I can show you what you're missing. Like the most essential stuff that is basic but gets missed, I'll teach you that stuff, and I will facilitate you to then go to somewhere else to go and learn whatever you want. So I want to help you have a body that can go and do what you want to enjoy. That's where I get my passion from. So I'm sort of like, I will work with the beginner level of people or someone that's not quite sure what they should be doing, and help them that way. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to make you the best of anything, but I'm going to make your body work. I'm going to fill in the gaps with your training. So like the likes of cycling, I will make you have to move your hips more, have to extend your hips more, have to move your upper back more, so that you're filling in the gaps of what cycling does. Same with martial arts. For a lot of people, they always stand in the same stance, so they're always swinging. They're really punching with their right side. So they're just kind of starting to rotate certain ways. So I'll show them how to make sure that they're not overcompensating that way, so they're staying more complete. Because a lot of people just get stuck in a rut if they're just always doing the same things all the time. And just simply from adding in that balance to their overall training, they're totally fine then. So it's making sure, again, just making their joints move like joints, so they can do the harder stuff, so they can push themselves and the joints are happier. Because at the end of the day, to get better at cycling, you've got to cycle. But
Absolutely.
to be able to cope with the level of training, you got to have happy joints. So I give people happy joints. That's really what we do. Yeah.
I noticed that you had a big sale for Valentine's Day, and I really liked your ad, I must say. It
Yeah,
made my
that
day.
was a giggle.
That was a good laugh. How much is the SMM program? How much does it cost, and why is it value for money for what it is?
It's £59, and the way it's like, that's not even a full tank of petrol. It's
Exactly.
not even a physio treatment. We want it to be affordable because I realize that people that aren't into fitness don't want to spend money on fitness. So that's why it's the price it is. If it was way, way, way more expensive, if it was over £100, people that we want to help wouldn't buy it because they would see it as too expensive. But when you've done it, you're like, oh, this is worth the money, because you're not having to go to the physio all the time.
All
You're
you have
not
to
having
do is
to,
just listen to the testimonials or read the
yeah,
testimonials,
and
and
that's
you'll click on it straight away.
when you read through the testimonials and see how many different people are there, like different backgrounds, different training, different ages, male, female, it doesn't matter. They are getting results all from this same program, and it's just because it's based on how the joints should work. Your joints only move in a certain number of ways. They don't do magical things because you do golf. You still have shoulders and hips. There's no difference there. So that's all I do. I just make the joints work better, and that's what helps people then in their sport. With horse riders, everything, like our group is just amazing every day. People saying that they're doing things that they hadn't done for years, or they've had a pain that they haven't been able to get rid of for years, and they're feeling great now. So it's extremely, like, we are so proud of what we've been able to accomplish with the group, especially because it's so supportive too. All the members in the group, it's not a place where everything's all sunshines and rainbows. People can post in it and go, frig's sake, my hip's sore again. I was doing well there for a couple of weeks. And the other members and myself will jump in and be like, it's all right, go back, do the regressions, see how you go. And you'll get that update from that same person in a couple of days' time going, oh, this is better. That's the fastest I've ever got rid of that.
It's
And
basically, with this program, basically you are giving the tools to the individual to
yep.
find their own balance, to find their own happy place where they can train, they can do stuff that they can progress without being in pain. That's basically what SMM is.
Yeah, it's the non-negotiable stuff. It's the stuff that you can't argue. If you can't do it, there's a problem. It's too big to avoid. It's fair enough saying I don't enjoy yoga. Well, all right, okay, well, you don't have to do yoga then, but you still need to stretch your hips. You still need to move your hips like hips. You can't get away with that. You can't just go, well, I don't enjoy that, I won't do it. It's like, I don't enjoy drinking water. Well, you're gonna have a bad time in about a week if you don't drink anything. You know what I mean? You need to move the joints the way they're supposed to.
Well, it's quite sciencey if you think about it. There's quite a lot of knowledge that you have to have as a personal trainer, as a fitness coach. Do you have any physiotherapy background?
No, I am friends
Because
with
a
a lot.
lot of them do.
Mm-hmm. We would have a lot of physios come to our courses, chiropractors and stuff as well. They would come to our seminars and stuff. I would be friends with quite a few of them, and like
What do they say? What's their opinion about your program? What
they love it, and they use it as well, and they'll ask me questions, and I refer it as well. Like, again, I know my place. If someone's coming to me with a sharp stabby pain, I'm like, you need to go see a physiotherapist, not me. I refer people out every day to doctors, to physios, all the time. Every day I'm sending people elsewhere. So I'm not saying that movement fixes everything. There is a place for everything, but a lot of people don't do the movement at all, and they should maybe try and start there, and we call that like having a wiggle. It's like, have you tried moving it? And
Yeah,
it's
it's
some people
basically like
don't
the
help.
paracetamol before you actually go and take some antibiotics for something, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Do
That's
that. Have some cups of tea, hydrate, and see how you do over a week or so, and then come back, and we'll see if you need more serious medication. That's basically what you're saying with the SMM.
yeah, yeah. And so it's if you're moving really badly, SMM is going to fix it for you. But if you have snapped something, or if you've fallen over a rock and you've heard a pop, you need to go to hospital. There's a bit of a difference. So we do get that sometimes. Some people will message asking things, and it's just like, look, I have no idea how to help you with that. That is a doctor problem. You really need to go and see the doctor about that. And even as well, there's some things as well, like headaches with people. Like, yes, the neck stretches that we would teach have helped a lot of people with headaches. But the second anyone mentions the word headache to me, I'm like, go and see your doctor, ask your doctor right away, and see what they say, and then come back to me. And then, okay, we'll try the neck stretches, which have been great for some people. But I'm never going to start going, oh, yeah, if you've got a headache, these neck stretches will be the thing that helps it. You don't need to see anyone else. It's like, that's never going to happen with me. It's too, you're too important. There was someone I worked with once that came to me. They had a bit of tightness in their groin, in their adductor muscle. And I was testing their hip flexibility, and they said that they felt a bit of a lump. And I said to them, you should go see your doctor about that. And it actually turned out to be cancer.
Wow.
That's scary. So I never make the assumption that movement fixes everything as well, but it does help a lot of stuff. So yeah, you've got to really, really look after yourself and get second and third opinions about stuff too. It's great to have a really good physio that and can help you out and that you can see every now and again. But don't be afraid to try a couple of different ones, because you might just gel with someone else a little bit better. And even with coaches as well. I went through a stage once I had like 5 or 6 coaches at one time for all different things. You should learn from as many different people as you can. It keeps things exciting as well.
It's quite nice, and it's humbling to listen to you and see how pragmatic you are in your approach to fitness. And fitness is a very complex field, and it's a very, very competitive one.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get it? How did you get to be where you are? How did you make it so far? Because I was looking on the stats, I was looking on the websites, preparing for this episode, and like in 2010, in the UK were nearly 40,000 fitness trainers, and in 2022, this number went up to nearly 70,000. And it must be cutthroat competition. How did you find it? How was it for you? Obviously, you've done it for a long time, but how did you find it yourself?
I think, especially in the online world, for new coaches starting out, it's like you've got to build your time with people first. You have to work on the floor of the gym. You have to work with people in real life, and know how to solve problems, because you can feel really confident with what you're doing for a few months, and then you'll meet a new person and you just can't seem to get anything right with them. Everything goes wrong, and you're just like, why is this stuff worked for everyone else? Why isn't it working for them? And you need to get yourself in that situation as many times as possible, because that's what helps you to become a better teacher. And it's what helps you to be able to explain things better and be able to relate to people better as well. And so for me, it was just that sheer volume of just working with anybody and everybody that I could. So then whenever we went to go into the online world, it carried over to the videos, how I was explaining things on videos as well. And that then helped to help build our following, I suppose, because there was just a level of, he does seem to actually know what he's talking about, or he's done that before. Whereas if you've only just started out and you've trained a couple of people and you've only been doing it for a few months, and you start trying to post stuff online and make content, there's just something that's just not there. You can tell that the problems haven't been solved fully yet. So it's all about time in the game, really. So like, I've been doing this for a very long time now. So with 10 years, I've been at things now. So
yeah, especially during the pandemic, the number of people posting online and trying to interact with people fitness-wise online, it just, increased quite a lot. And I was wondering how many of those are actually, genuinely in the know and genuinely good at what they're doing, and how to separate the wheat from the chaff, and how to get access to some proper training programs rather than just wander around in the dark and try this and then try that and then try the other. And perhaps the best way of finding somebody who is good is just go by what other people have tried and what people saw that worked for them, and then try it yourself. And if it doesn't work, try something else.
Yeah, and that's the testimonials are a great one. So you can, if you read people's testimonials and see, if there's anyone that you relate to yourself in the testimonials, is always a great thing. And for most coaches, they'll do a call with you if you want to work with them before you actually sign up to anything. Or for a lot of people, they would have like lower barrier programs, so you could try like a lower barrier program and see if you like it and then go to the next one. I really like a mix of in-person stuff as well as online stuff. So try people around you, local to you. When you meet someone, especially face to face, it's totally different to speaking to someone online. It's just really, really nice to have that in-person element, I think, and for real-time feedback. So as much as I love training people online, it's like they have to do the thing, video the thing, send me the thing, and then I watch it, and then I give them the feedback, and then they have to do it again by themselves. Whereas when you do it in person, you're fixing it real time, and you're able to get everything quite quickly. So it just depends. Well, one, what you can budget for, but two, like, how in depth you want to go with things. But I definitely, for anyone that's new to training, or say you feel like you need to make up for lost time, get a coach to help you out that is going to guide you and stop you from making silly mistakes right off the bat.
How do you find a good coach? What should be on the list? If I am to make a list of stuff that I want to see or what want to hear from a good personal trainer, from a good coach, what should I be looking for? What are those criteria that I need to put on my list? I want the coach to be this or give me that, or how would I look for a good one, basically?
Someone that seems to show simple things in a very direct way, also shares their client successes as well. So they're not just posting pictures of themselves all of the time. You want to see that they're actually working with people and see that they're giving people results and not just being like, wow, look at how amazing I am, buy my program. It's not really a good way to inspire anybody as well, especially for coaches. Anyone that's a coach, maybe listen to this as well. If you're just shouting about how great you are all the time, nobody cares. And then you feel unreachable. So it's more about seeing what they've done with their clients, and then seeing, if you look into the program that they do, see what the program offers. Do you get one-to-one attention, or is it a check-in every now and again? Is the programming changed for you? And is it, do you get to say what you want to achieve? And, can they help you with that? Or is it just, this is the way it is, and this is the way I teach, so you have to do what I say, which is fine if you really, really like the person, but not so fine if that's not what you want.
I suppose having six-pack, a nice shaped six-pack helps impress a number of people, but it won't really work any miracles on people looking for long-time progress and not just achieving, but maintaining that level of fitness and
for some people, it's not for everyone.
Health.
For me, it's not for everyone now as well. Like 5-6 years ago, I was all about how much weight I could possibly lift and trying to get as lean as I could and everything like that. But now I'm 36, I have 2 kids, and I enjoy eating ice cream with them, and I like, going out for dinner and, having fun and doing stuff, and also feeling strong. So it's like, I'm aware that my body type is going to change to that, but I'm happy with my life. And that's a big thing. It's not wrong to have that goal. You should want to be happy with your life. You want to feel good, Whereas if you're, for example, if someone gets pulled into the likes of powerlifting, which is just squat, bench, deadlift, and they're not enjoying it, but they think it's the only way you can get strong or train, and they're wrecking themselves and they're walking around.
But this is what you get told. If you want to get strong, you need to powerlift. If you want to have strong bones and strong muscles and maintain your muscle density and your bone density after a certain age, you need to lift.
Mm-hmm. You don't need you do need to lift, but you don't need to lift to that extent of like trying to beat your 1 rep maxes all the time and things. There's nothing wrong with using weights to challenge the muscles and to use time under tension and to move slower with them and get a training adaptation that way. There's many ways to train. You could do full body weight training, you could do weights training, you can do a mix of both, you can do CrossFit, you can just do dance, you can just do rock climbing, you can just do pole dancing. There's so many different things you can do. It's mainly just as long as you're moving and you enjoy what you're doing. And that's half the battle. If you're waking up in the morning going, I can't wait to get to because I really enjoy it, you don't need to be coached to train.
How important is the wider range of exercises, or the variety? How important it is to actually introduce variety in your fitness regime and your fitness program?
For me, that's, I like to get it through mobility work, and that's, doing animal movements and sitting on the floor, stretching, crawling, doing all things like that. That's a great way to get variety. And then if you just add in the likes of the gymnastics rings or TRX, so that you're doing pulling exercises with your arms in all different directions, so that your shoulders and joints are actually getting better movement in different directions, it's a great way again to fill in the gaps. Whereas if you're always using a barbell all of the time, your joints kind of have to work out how to work around the barbell because it's straight and it doesn't bend, it doesn't move for you. You have to manipulate your body around it. So yes, it can make you crazy strong with a barbell, but you can find that person that can be an amazing deadlifter and an amazing squatter that can't bend over sideways to pick something up off the floor without tweaking their back because they're never moving in a different way. So it's important to have a bit of variance on top of what you're doing as well, which is
So you can do housework. You can start hoovering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you rotate your middle because you're trying to hoover, and your back all of a sudden goes because you can't you can't twist anymore.
I actually watched the program at some point, and I think it was a BBC documentary, and they were basically counting calories, how many calories are burning. Somebody went to the gym for an hour, somebody went out for a run for an hour or cycling or whatever, and somebody just stayed home and they did the hoovering and the dusting and the polishing and the dishes and so on and so forth, and basically they just burned the same amount of calories.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah, you can't really think just because you go into the gym and do a couple of heavy deadlifts, you can go home and eat a pizza. It doesn't work like that.
And this brings me to nutrition, and I really want you to tell us as much as you can and as much as you know about nutrition, because we are basically living in a world where we think we can eat anything as long as we exercise, and we just pick up anything from the shelf that we like, especially when we do go to the gym or we do have an active life. How important is the nutrition in somebody's life, especially in the life of a person who likes to get a lot of exercise?
Nutrition wouldn't be my area, to be honest. It's not. I have the.
But obviously, you've got some kind of experience.
I've got some experience, but that would be it. It's nutrition is another one of those things that I refer out to. If someone asks me for nutrition advice, I would say, "Here's a great nutritionist. Go and contact them, and they can help you." But in terms of myself and like what I would do, it's really just about making sure that you're eating enough just things that aren't processed, and if you can skip a meal here and there, great. If you can't function without breakfast, don't try and skip breakfast. If you can, then great, have a little bit of a bigger lunch and then have your dinner. So you can reduce calories that way if you want to think of it in terms of weight loss. In terms of, so what I would do as well, because like the mobility world and joint pain, anti-inflammatory type of diets are great to consider so that you're not having like low level inflammation all the time. So that can make your joints feel a lot stiffer too. So main thing for me, all that I really focus on with people is getting them to drink more water, and just trying to eat more healthy meat and vegetables and making sure that they're, cutting down the takeaways as much as they can a little bit, but no, outside of that, I've seen so many different diets work for so many different people, and it just really depends on the person. Some people don't want to eat keto, some people don't want to do certain diets and stuff. There's so many different ways to eat healthy that you got to find the one that works for you. So it's just a real experimentation thing, and one of my big things with people is like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're not going to stick to it. Why are you doing it? You've got to find the thing that you can compromise on, but that you're also happy enough with. So if that involves having cheap meals and stuff, that's fine. And that's not to say that anyone's wrong at all. If some cannot slip up at all, or they just go off the rails and they have to eat 100% clean and healthy all of the time, that's fine as well, because that suits them. And they know that if they have one milkshake, that's them. The next week they're going to be written off. It's you have to find the type of thing, the habits that work with your own mentality and what you can cope with. And I don't know for any of you guys that maybe have kids. When you've got kids, you start eating more biscuits because you're tired and you want biscuits. And that's just what happens. So you can't, you've got to react to the life that you have, and your training and your nutrition needs to support the life that you have. It can't be a hindrance, and it can't be an extra stress point. Okay. Unless
it was only 2 biscuits. You don't need to shame me for that. It was only 2 biscuits.
You can't make yourself miserable if your life doesn't support being a professional athlete. A lot of people are trying to train and eat like professional athletes while also working 40 or 50 hours a week at the same time.
Do you think that's a big mistake?
I think,
because I went through that, and I was trying to get to about 20 hours of training a week while working about 45, 46 hours in a full-time job. And my full-time job was being a bus driver.
Yeah. It's
how big of a mistake is that?
It's a pretty big mistake, because you're giving up your life to try and train, but all you're then doing is making your training's not going to go as well because you're not going to recover as well. But then you're not able to function properly in daily life, so you're just not accomplishing anything really. It's great to push yourself.
I was trying to compensate. I was trying in my head. It was like, well, I'm sitting on a chair for about 45, 46 hours a week. Might as well train as much as possible.
Yeah,
and compensate.
That's the balance there that you want to put into is more relaxed joint movement, not hard training. So that's kind of the balance there. So to take some of those hours away from the hard training and to do more relaxed joint movements, so you're resetting things and actually calming your body down rather than battering it as much as you can all of the time.
And I was embracing the pain, because obviously I had that. No pain, no gain, right?
Yeah, if you really push yourself for a while and you build in loads of really good habits, then your new level of what you consider lazy is a lot higher than others. So if you've really went hard at it for a while and then you back off a bit, you're probably not going right back to where you used to be. So you're going to have still better habits anyway in your general life. So it is good to push yourself for periods of time.
Yeah, and when you get to that level of lazy that you used to be in the past, you just beat yourself up all the time, which I do now. I haven't done much after I got COVID about a year ago. I just didn't do much because I didn't feel, myself. I didn't feel 100%. So I thought, right, I'm just going to take it nice and slow. Now I'm a lorry driver and I push and pull weights and I deliver bread and crumpets and stuff like that. And there's quite a lot of movement that I do, a physical movement. I do about 11,000, maybe 12,000 steps a day. So I'm thinking in my head, perhaps that's enough for now. But I'm really looking forward to start again, to go out running and cycling and lifting weights and do stuff like that. And obviously I haven't got time to go to the gym, God no. But I want to try and do that stuff at home. And I wanted to ask you about what you think about intermittent fasting, and hopefully we'll get to that at some point. But when it comes to training at home, what do you think about home gym equipment and training at home and buying equipment online? And what kind of equipment would you buy if you'd start training at home? What would you recommend? What's your favorite type of gym equipment or home gym equipment and stuff like that? You already mentioned the rings. Is there other kind of equipment that people should buy or could buy online and perhaps see an improvement?
For minimal equipment and minimal space, having an adjustable dumbbell or a set of adjustable dumbbells that you can make up pretty heavy, resistance bands and the gymnastics rings, if possible, to hang somewhere. It'll take a bit of thinking of where you can hang them. But there is places in your house you can hang rings from, even if it's the joists, and you put a couple of hooks up and you only bring them out when you're using them at the time, put them away again. There will be somewhere that you can put rings, and they're just so good because people should be hanging more often. They should be pulling more often. So the rings are great to fill that in. So they would be the three things: a resistance band, adjustable dumbbells, and rings. If you can get those things at home, you're going to be able to do a lot of stuff. And then just learning how to maneuver your body weight itself is a great thing then.
Right, so that's a starting point. Going back to nutrition, and that's the only thing that I'm going to ask you about it, and then we're going to move on to something else. Intermittent fasting, what do you think about it? Did you do it? Did you try it?
I kind of have to it now. I would not eat until maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon, but that works for me. I feel fine. I feel more alert when I do that. I feel like I work better when I do that. And then I'll have a massive lunch. I'll have a lunch that would look like your big full on dinner. And then I would have a dinner as well. So I'd probably only eat twice in the day. But I find that that doesn't work for some people. It seemed to be more women it wouldn't work with if they didn't have something to eat in the morning. They just their workout wouldn't go as well, and they just wouldn't feel good, and would feel sluggish. So it doesn't work for some people. So again, it's really about trial and error and see what works best for you. There was a period that I went through that I felt really, really good, where I actually was eating breakfast, and I was getting up at 5 in the morning and making fish and having a bulletproof coffee, which is a coffee with butter and coconut oil in it and cinnamon, and going and doing my training and feeling great. And I was getting really lean doing that. And then just happened to be a period where it all switched and I just kept starting to put weight on. And I was like, well, that's not working anymore. So then I swapped to skipping breakfast and eating later in the day and stuff, and found that worked for me a bit better. So it's all about experimentation, seeing what works for you and seeing what you can maintain, and make your own mind up on it. That's the thing. Don't let anyone put their words in your mouth. Try it, do it properly, see if it works for you, and see if you can adapt to it.
So basically what you're saying, for everybody, for each individual, it will be different. And you need to just basically customize your training according to your needs and your body type, and what works for you. It will be what works for you. It might not work for anybody else, but if it works for you, go ahead. Should you have blood tests?
If I don't train between like 8 and 10 in the morning, then if I leave it later, if I haven't ate, I won't have a good as a session. But as long as I train between 8 and 10, if I'm not eating, I'm totally fine. But if I tried to train like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock and I hadn't ate yet, the training session wouldn't go as well. Weights would feel heavier.
Yeah, it's probably exactly at that time where your body naturally produces glucose, and it just, the glycemic index just goes up naturally without you even eating anything, because it starts burning fat, doesn't it? From what I read anyway. And I hate training on an empty stomach, I must say.
Yeah,
I am trying my best. I'm trying not to eat anything until 10 o'clock. I stop eating between 6 and 7 in the evening when I have dinner with my family, because that's important, right? You have to have a good quality of life. And then obviously I try not to eat anything before 10 o'clock next day. And I find I can just about do it every day, apart from, the odd day here and there when I've got a day off and I really want to have breakfast with the kids. But yeah, technology, isn't it great when it works? What about apps, fitness apps, Strava, Komoot, all sorts of fitness apps that people can download for next to nothing, sometimes for free? What do you make of them? Do they help? Should they help? Should they be taken with a pinch of salt? Should people perhaps use them in conjunction with, say, advice from a trainer, from a professional who knows what they're doing?
Yes, they should be asking someone that knows them and they can ask for feedback from. As much as the apps and all and things, yes, can be great. Loads of people do love to track things. I find a lot of people are just like making themselves not do anything, or dictating how their day is going to go because their watch said that they didn't sleep well. And it's just not helpful to some people. To some people, they absolutely love it. They love to track things and everything. And I do believe in tracking your training, your weight numbers and stuff, but you can do that with a notepad and a pen. Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. But
you're only 36. You're a baby.
Yeah, a lot of apps, I think, though, are just, do you really want to track all that stuff, And again, and that brings it back to my point about motivation. It's like you can have all the best apps in the world. If you're not enjoying your training, you're not going to feel as good. You're not going to recover as well. Your body's not going to recover as well if you cannot be bothered with the training you're doing. Because
that was exactly my ethos. I've explained to my wife every time, if I don't like the bike, I'm not going to get on it. So I need to get a bike that that's a different discussion.
Bikes are expensive.
I have been known to spend a bit too much on bikes in the past. What about tracking your progress or tracking your fitness level or even your health by doing just blood tests?
Blood tests I haven't done with. So yeah, some people like them. Some people decide to then take a bunch of supplements to see if they help. But again, did they really help, or was it psychosomatic? You never know.
Did you look on these? Because I am going to ask you about supplements. You just said supplements.
again, for me,
Supplementation is a
I
big
have
thing.
some
It's a
people
massive
argue a
industry,
lot.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different. Again, it's not my area, but I've just seen a lot over the years of people believing to the almighty heavens that magnesium fixed all of their problems when it doesn't.
Guilty.
Like, oh
Not
yeah,
just that, but all sorts.
you can try and
I've
supplement
downed
this if you
gels
want.
like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like you can take all the supplements if you want, but if you're not sleeping and you move like absolute rubbish, you're gonna hurt. You're not gonna feel good. So there's always the more important things, and it's the diet and the sleep and the moving well is the most important things. And supplements are just that. They're supplementary, and just there's so many people that I've met that are so bought into the supplements. They must be spending about £200 a month on their supplements, and it's like
Didn't
you
quite
see
get to
them.
that level, but in my head, Tom, it was like, didn't you
Yeah,
sleep
but
well?
I
No
see them.
problem.
I see
A
those same
caffeine gel will
people.
sort it out.
Yeah, I see those same people like a year or two later, and it's like, you still taking the supplements? They're like, nah. And I'm like, do you feel any different? They're like, nah. So for me, I've just seen it happen too many times. And I was one of those people. I used to believe that if I didn't take my fish oils, my omega-3s, if I didn't take them, that my knees would hurt. And I would get knee pain. I would have found, oh, it's because I didn't take my fish oils this morning. I fully believed that years ago. I was like,
Wow.
and like now I don't take fish oils at all. I'm just like, no, I haven't felt any difference, so I don't take them.
When it comes to working out, when it comes to exercising, fitness in general, do you believe in a structured a fitness regime, or just a random one whenever you feel like it, whenever your body tells you, yeah, I'm ready to exercise, go for it?
Structure first. Learn structure and learn how much you can tolerate, and
Why?
then later on in life you can then be more
Ah,
intrinsic with it. You've got to have a baseline. You've got to know what it feels like to do 5 by 5 squats, or to do a workout that was too much, or to do a workout that you didn't feel like you got anything from. You've got to have some kind of blueprint there to test and try, and then you'll know yourself within a few years time. Like, think in terms of years, then you'll know, oh, I feel good today, I could do a workout like this one and push myself really hard today.
is
Or
it a
you'll know.
matter of educating oneself about how to get disciplined? Because I find getting to be disciplined quite difficult, and after that, obviously, it's a little bit easier because you've already got the structure. But how do you get to that level of discipline? How does one educate oneself about being disciplined in the first
you've
place?
It's got to be goal orientated. You've got to have something in future in mind for you. You don't just want to train for the sake of training. It's something. If for people that would just go to like boot camp classes and not really pay attention to what they're doing, you'll find that they drop off quite a lot, or they don't feel like they're getting results a lot. And it's not until someone goes, I want to be able to do this thing, that then they make progress, because the thing becomes bigger than what they're doing. So therein lies the motivation. It's like, oh, I need to do this to be able to achieve this. So then you'll be motivated and you'll be disciplined. Whereas if you're just going, oh, I don't want to get fat, it's not really a motivator. Whereas if it was, oh, I'm having heart problems and I want to be able to get old and see my kids grow up. Oh, here's a
Mm.
goal. It's slightly different.
Yeah, the
Um,
bell rings a lot louder then, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So make it big, make your goal big, a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And that's going to be what will give you more motivation and more discipline. And then just educate yourself in any which way you can to achieve that goal in the best way possible. For me, it was always with weightlifting goals that I had, it was always go to seminars, go and train at other clubs, train with my friends, train by myself, and do as much as I can to achieve that number. And you couldn't stop me. I was like, how do you feel today? I was like, I don't care, I'm training. And I would just go for it because the goal was there. I wanted to hit a number before my friend did. We had a competition of like who would get there first. And that was me. I had to get it first. I had to get it first.
Yeah, but you
Whereas,
are aware that not everybody is or was a gym bunny like yourself.
yeah,
So
yeah.
getting to actually motivate yourself and find the discipline and get to that level where you're like, okay, I need to do this, or it's 5 o'clock in the morning. This is when I get up and I go for a run.
It's starting off small. So even for me, so I started with martial arts classes. So I was going to the beginner classes. For me, my big goal was there. I was like, I want to get into the intermediate classes. I have to get into the intermediate classes. So what happened then? I didn't miss any beginner class. I was at them all because I wanted to get to the intermediate classes. And then, so if for anyone, it can start off as like, I want to be able to run 5K without having to stop it's a big goal. It's going to be hard to achieve, and you can start to work on it. So you start off in little bite-sized things, but what you find, the more of those things you do, that 5K turns into 10K, that 10K turns into a marathon, and it's like, okay, right. Oh, now I've run a marathon. Oh, what can I do next? And then people will go into doing triathlons. They'll start doing crazy stuff. So it's about starting off. It needs to be big and hairy, but it's big and hairy within the realms of what you can still achieve. So you can't just go, I'm going to go be an astronaut and then fly to space.
The thing is, once you achieve your first goal, after that is just plain sailing, because you know what it feels like to achieve. You know what it feels like to win. You know what it feels like to be accomplished. And then you're flying, man, because your level of confidence will just build on what you've already achieved. Whereas if you never tried it, if you've never been to a competition, if you've never done an event, if you've never been in the gym and had a healthy competition with your peers, you don't know what it feels like, and you don't know what you're missing. And that's why I'm stressing the point on getting to that level of discipline where you need to start structuring your day in such a way that you give yourself a little bit of time, even be half an hour, to do something with your body.
Yeah.
Exercising or trying to get to a certain level of fitness with vices. A lot of us drink, smoke, maybe party, or do stuff that we shouldn't do too often. What do you make of exercising while smoking, for example? Because you used to smoke, you used to drink, you used to party. How can you sort of make those two live together?
There's a few different ways I can answer this one.
Because you've quit smoking, haven't you?
Yeah.
And it was a big step in your life, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I would start smoking again tomorrow. I really miss it. I'm one of those people that I miss it. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, I'd get that away from me. I'm like, I try and smell people when they're walking past. I'm so bad for it. But
that's
again,
why I'm asking, because you can understand, and somebody who understands this can actually give an honest answer in ways that people who've never put a cigarette in their mouth in their lives,
the thing
can't.
The thing that puts me off with smoking is that I know what it's like when I try and do a workout when I am smoking, and it doesn't feel good. You sweat in a different way. Your lungs don't work the right way, and it's just not nice. So that's what puts me off going back on it again, because I know what it feels like to feel better and be able to perform better. So my motivator is that I don't want to have crappy workouts that I can't keep up with because of enjoying myself with cigarettes. So it's just that kind of way, having again the goal that's bigger.
But do you think that people who smoke could also become people who enjoy fitness workouts?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Because some people would say, well, I'm a smoker. I smoke. I like having a fag. I like, having a few drinks. I'm not into that kind of stuff.
I didn't stop smoking straight away. It was the realization of when I decided I wanted to get better at some things, I'm like, right, all right, I'll drop the smoking then. So I tried to do both for a long time, and I was still making progress. Don't get me wrong. I was still starting to feel a bit fitter, but it was just, there was a final push where one day I was getting beat by 50-year-old mums, and I was like, I'm 26. What's going on? And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to stop the fags for a while. And then that made a bit of a difference. And then that was my motivator to not go back on it again. So yeah.
I don't know if I can say that I've quit smoking, because I'm still vaping. So in a way, I'm still putting some crap in my lungs. But I remember when I was proper into cycling and I was also smoking, and some of the guys I was going out cycling with, I was keeping up with them, and they were training properly as well, and they kept saying, gosh, imagine if you didn't smoke, what you could do. You could absolutely thrash me. And I was thinking, yeah, I probably could. I probably shouldn't be smoking. And then obviously getting up to the level of training that I was supposed to be for an event some weeks in advance, I wouldn't smoke at all, and I was immediately feeling better. I'm talking within days, I was feeling so much better, and I was just flying. And this is what sort of made me go, choose the vaping path. And I'm hoping not to go back to cigarettes, but I can't promise anything. Training indoors versus training outdoors.
I like indoors personally. Yeah, just where I am.
Well,
But again,
you're in Northern Ireland. Weather doesn't help that
yeah,
much. I'm down in Devon in southwest England. Perhaps
yeah.
the weather's a little bit more clement here, but not by much. Why indoors versus outdoors? I'm
I
sure
like
it's
having.
not just the weather.
No, it's just I like using a lot of different equipment and things. So I would use like a barbell and rings and the wall and a box and cardio equipment all in the same session. So that's why I like indoor stuff. So that's why I use a gym essentially when I'm training. Yeah. So the cycling world and the running world never really appealed as much to me. So that's I'm not a you can't make me do one thing for longer than 30 minutes or I'll start going crazy.
Have you tried training outdoors? Would that
Oh
be
yeah,
something that you would try a bit more if given
if
the
the weather was
opportunity?
better, oh yeah, and we would go up to the park and stuff and do things, or go to the beach and things whenever the weather's good. Yeah, it is good fun, but it's not something. I'm not one of these people that would do the cold dips and jumping in
Why
cold rivers.
not?
Not for me. I like my comforts. Nope. I tried the ice bath thing for a while and I just did not like it. It's just nope. So yeah.
Okay. How does one dress appropriately and comfortably and in a way that helps when exercising? So basically, what do you wear? What needs to be worn
What
in
needs to be
terms of,
worn?
yeah, in terms of clothes?
Oh, just
Because a
short.
lot of people spend a lot of money, and I'm speaking firsthand, so my experience is relevant here. A lot of people spend a lot of money on gym equipment when it comes to clothes.
Yeah. Shorts and t-shirts.
What would you say on that subject?
Whatever you prefer. Again, it's whatever you like the most.
Do you need it, or can you train? I don't know, in briefs if necessary. Well,
I
if
would
it,
I would train in anything to be honest, and I would take my top off when I'm training. I've always trained in big gyms, big box gyms where you don't get weird looks for stuff like that, and you can drop weights and everything. So, um, that's just the way I've trained. But yeah, there would be some people coming in the latest designer tracksuit bottoms and stuff all the time, and I'm still wearing some tracksuits I've had for 10 years. It's not one for me. I'm like, as long as the material moves, I'm fine. So yeah, the
as long
Under
as there are
Armour.
no holes in places that there shouldn't be holes, is all
Yeah,
right.
as long as you don't hold space, but yeah, knee holds and stuff are fine.
Do you think that personal trainers should be or should have experience or knowledge in physiotherapy, or do you think just the fitness knowledge that one gets in trainer school would be enough?
I definitely think it's going both ways. I think more physios are getting more strength and conditioning knowledge, and more coaches are getting more physio knowledge, and it should be that way. You should know where the line is so that you know when you need to send your client to a physio. And your physio should also be able to say to the people that they treat, it's like, right, you should really go and get a trainer and learn how to train better. So it is going both ways. I'm definitely seeing that within the industry that physios and coaches are starting to like cross paths a little bit, and they kind of know which way to go, and it's the same for everything. A lot of people will go to their GP, their general practitioner doctor, for like a knee pain or whatever, and they'll just be told that they're too old and they should stop running, but they should have went to a physiotherapist instead. It's so some people, it's usually the person's fault that they go to the wrong person to help them out sometimes. So it's not to say that any one person's better than anybody as well. It's there's crossovers with everything. So it's important, if you're a professional, to know where your expertise finishes and where you need to send your client if needs be. It's a really
I'm
important thing.
asking this because of a number of reasons. It used to be a non-overlapping magisteria. You only went to the physiotherapist when you were in pain and you damaged yourself in some way, and you were suffering, you were hurting, and you needed to see a physiotherapist. Whereas now I'm looking at the courses. Like I said, in preparation for this, I went online and I was trying to find some courses and see what they cost and see what they look like and how long they are. And basically you can become a fitness coach, a fitness trainer in about 8 weeks, and the prices range quite a bit, but they start from about £900.
Mm-hmm.
And I even found some training courses down here in Devon where I live, and I was thinking, you're not going to learn a lot in 8 weeks. In no way you're going to have enough time to learn all the muscles and all the tendons and all the joints and all the stuff that you need to know about. If you want to have a level of knowledge in physiotherapy, and listening to what you're saying and watching your stuff online, I'm like, you really need to know physiotherapy. You really need to know your muscles.
Yeah, you do. You need to know how all the joints function and what pulls what and what needs to work with what and how to teach people how to brace and if someone does have an existing injury, or even if someone has a hip replacement, ideally you want to know how to deal with that person so that you're not going to accidentally hurt them. So it's an important thing, but it's one of those things. A course, you want to do a good course, that it's an extensive course and it lasts for a long time and it's in person, because if you're working with people, you need to work in person. And then after that, it's really about your continued education. So every year I go on multiple courses about anything I can find, even stuff I'm not even interested in. I'll go and do, because it relates to people that I'll work with, you know. So I don't personally have any interest in track and field sports and like sprinting and things like that, but I go and learn about it so that I know when someone that does that comes to me, that I know what they kind of do. So I'm not just completely blind and just assuming that you know, oh, running's just running. You know, a lot of things get written off like that sometimes, that, you know, oh, everyone should be able to do that. You know, I'm out running, aren't I? But it's like, no, everything has nuances and specifics you can learn about. So it's all about continued education for things, you know.
Yeah, because you do that course for 8 weeks, but you might want to specialize in a particular sport and the particular movements of that particular sport. And obviously there will always be particularities. And obviously as a fitness coach, as a personal trainer, you must have come about, you must have encountered a number of particularities. What's the difference between males and females training?
Training, it's just going to be, that depends. There's different times of the month that you're going to be able to push a bit more, female wise.
Apart from that, I'm talking generally, you know, generally speaking, the level of abilities, the level of power, the level of flexibility, and so on and so forth.
If you want to put general, there's always exceptions to rules, but for general things, you're going to find women sometimes able to achieve flexibility faster than men. You're going to find that women's like legs would recover faster than men's would from workouts if they're at a higher level. You're going to find that men can build upper body strength easier than women, and that's just like purely down to testosterone. There's all different things, but the movements that you use are the same. You just have to know how to regress them back to change them for both parties, you know. So there's no true answer. It always depends on the person, because if you've got a guy, say for example, that's 50 years old and he's never trained in his entire life, you're not going to be able to train him the same way as a guy that's 20, that's been active and played football and lifted weights for the last 5 years. You're going to have a different approach. So it's more than just male and female. It's like everything that they've done as well is really, really important.
So it's even down to the individual. It's basically
Yeah.
about a customization of the fitness program down to the actual individual, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's it for women as well that have had multiple pregnancies and things as well. That there's different approaches you may need to use for training them compared to a woman that hasn't been through a pregnancy yet. There's so many things, you know. So there's no true 100% answer for anything, or there's definite differences because everybody has different lives and different backgrounds. So, yeah.
When it comes to training, do you recommend training individually or in groups?
I like both. So you should have your own kind of little mission going on as well.
Why individually? Why in groups? Benefits and pluses and minuses.
Individual, you get your own headspace, you get to work on what you want to work on, and you can back off when you need to and push yourself when you need to. Groups, you're gonna be pushed harder, you're gonna push yourself harder, and there's that nice social aspect of it, and you're having someone looking after you as well, and it's more motivating. If you're training by yourself all the time, it gets very lonely. But as well, if you're never doing anything by yourself and you're only ever training at the group stuff too, then you know you could be making a little bit of extra sneaky progress by adding in a bit of individual training. So I would always say do a bit of both.
I personally myself, when I was training with others, I either got distracted or I pushed myself too much.
Yeah, there's a fine line of that. But again, if you do want to make
Because I
progress,
wasn't used to it. I always enjoyed being in my own head, just going out on Dartmoor here on the hills and trying to do my own stuff. And whenever I trained with somebody, it was like, let's start chatting about whatever.
yeah, the chat's the hard thing.
What's the main reason for trying SMM?
Main reason for trying SMM. Do you
Yeah.
want your body to function properly?
Why couldn't
do
you
you want the
just
joints
do
to move
some
right?
Pilates? Why couldn't you just do some Pilates or some yoga? And we have touched a little bit on what they lack, but why shouldn't one think, well, I'll just try a bit of Pilates or I'll just watch some yoga videos on YouTube?
Oh no, they absolutely can. But if you want to make sure you're not missing anything out that's really important by accident, then SMM's the way to go forward.
Okay. I'm trying to select the stuff that I've put down here. What do you make of the Instagram and the Facebook and the online influencers as fitness coaches, or trying to?
Some great ones and some ones that aren't in people's best interests. There's no
How to spot a bad one? Because I have asked you how to spot a good one, how to find a good one. How do you spot a bad one, or one that you should best be,
one that has lots and
avoided?
lots of followers and just posts pictures of themselves. And if you look at their posts as well, if they've got loads of followers but they have very few likes on their posts or views on their stuff, then they're potentially paid followers. So that's something to look out for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. The last thing I want to ask you is about the job of a fitness trainer. How difficult it is to be a fitness trainer or a fitness coach. What are the challenges of the field and of the job, and what should you do to become a good personal trainer? I
You've
spoke.
got
I did say a little bit about the courses, and obviously everybody can look them up if they want to. But obviously, from your experience, what would you say? What advice would you give somebody who would perhaps look at this as a career or a way of life?
you've got to care about people. You can't enjoy training yourself and think, oh, I'll just do this as a career. Then if you don't care about people and want to help people, it's not a career path to go down at all. You can't just be good at training and be the best that you can be and assume that everyone else is just going to want to do what you do, kind of thing. It doesn't work that well. So you have to actually have a genuine care about people and wanting to help people get out of the rut that they're in or make themselves better. So it's all about compassion. Really, it really, really is. There's no other thing about it, and it's something some people I find maybe have or they just don't have in them. So if you're not naturally compassionate and caring about people and wanting to help people, then it might be something to not consider. There's loads of jobs in the fitness industry that don't involve having to be a coach as well. Like you could be in the graphic design element of fitness stuff, or helping like people build websites and things like that. There's lots of different jobs you can have within the fitness industry, but if you want to be a coach that works with people, you gotta want to help people. And that has to be something that's in you already. It's not, you can't buy a course for that one. If you don't like people and you can't tolerate someone that's complaining because you can't see where they're coming from. Because if someone's struggling or someone's in pain, they're not going to be in the best attitude. But if you can help them and get them over that hill, you could make a completely different person. You could be the person that helps someone's complete perspective of their life change if you can help them through a difficult time. So if you're not prepared to deal with people during a difficult time, you're not going to be a good coach. It's not going to work for you.
So you're not going to become their best friend or their worst enemy. You just have to be there in a professional way for some of their crappiest days of their lives potentially.
Yeah. And if you can't handle rejection, it's going to be very hard as well, because you do make really good relationships with people when you're a coach, and you work with people for years and years and years, and circumstances for people in life change, and they'll just go elsewhere, or they'll just stop training, and it hits you hard. You're like, oh, and you then you get that realization again. It's like, oh yeah, I was their coach, wasn't their best friend. Oh yeah, it's a hard thing sometimes. So if you can't handle rejection, it might not be a good idea either. But no, you do. It's such a rewarding thing. You build up fantastic relationships with people, and it's something. If you enjoy doing it, it doesn't feel like a job at all. You feel like you're getting to talk about something that you love with your best friend all day, every day, and it's great. So yeah, if
you're basically getting paid for something that you do for free. This is
exactly
the bottom line conclusion. Yeah. If I would say meet you today for the first time and I would want to get fit or more Flong and Sexible, how would you proceed? What would be your way of working with somebody? Just consider that you've met me just now, and I've approached you and I said, look, I want to get a bit healthier and get a bit more fitness into me because I lack it. How would you approach it? What would be your example, basically, of how to deal with this? What questions would you ask me? What would you do? What would you say?
I would take you through SMM. I would ask you what you do the majority of your day. I would ask you if you've ever had any injuries, and I would delve into your history a bit. And I would see where you're at in what you want and what you perceive fitness to be, because I would need to meet you where you're at and not say, oh no, this is the way things should be done. I would need to gradually help you to see the value in certain things. So, and then I would just start working on testing your flexibility and your stability, which is always a lot of fun. So I would demonstrate, can you sit on the floor like this, get you to do it, see if you can, and try and see if there's anywhere that we need to neaten up, and then just help explain to you why it's important and why it's going to help. In your case, it would be like the likes of your cycling or having to sit in a lorry all day, why these exercises would be so important to work on, and then go from there.
Would there be any particular exercises that a lorry driver could do on their break when they have a break on the tacho? Is there any kind of stretching or exercises that they could do it while sitting down?
Yeah, absolutely. If you search Tom Morrison desk stretches on our YouTube channel, there's a great couple of ones you can just sit and work on. It's just about opening up the upper back and stretching your neck a little bit, because you're just sitting in that one position for so long. So you can offset a lot of stuff if you just every couple of hours, if you can, just do a couple of wee mini stretches, and that'll be a big help.
Yeah, I wouldn't probably be the best customer, because obviously I've done a bit of stretching and a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of cycling, and I would say, oh no, but this works for me. But that's no, shut up, do this, try SMM.
Yeah.
Right. We've basically covered everything I prepared. I thought I was not going to be able to go through all the 4 pages of questions and stuff that I wanted to ask you. Where can people find you, and stuff like that?
If you just go on the Googles and type Tom Morrison, I'll be the first thing to pop up.
Is there anything that you want to say, you want to ask me? Is there anything that you want to?
No, this would be great. I actually have to shoot on here, but no, we're on all the social media channels. Our YouTube is full of stuff. For a life hack, if you have a sore bit, just type into YouTube Tom Morrison and elbow or knee or whatever, and you'll get a bunch of videos that pop up that you'll be able to go through, and that'll help you to get started with working on mobility and starting to think about full joint movement.
Before I thank you for taking part in this, and obviously let you shoot off to what you're doing. What are you up to today? And obviously your message to our listeners.
Today is a heavy day, so I had a lazy day yesterday. So I did just normal training, a bit of upper body stuff and some hip stretches. Today I'm lifting heavy, so I'm doing squats and I'm doing deadlifts and I'm doing some gymnastics work. And then tomorrow will be another lazy day. So that's how I'm kind of operating at the moment. So busy.
Is it one on, one off? Pretty
much, yeah. So I'll push myself, and then I'll have a day I still train, but it's lazy training. So it's very relaxed. So I'll sweat a bit, but I'll not be lying on the floor afterwards, panting for breath.
Yeah, you'll be glowing. How does your day look like, generally speaking, apart from training? What else do you do to help you out with your training and your flexibility and your mobility? Is there any other stuff that you do generally?
Walking as well. So I would always train, and then I would go for walks, or we would go to the park with the kids and stuff. And then I would get the kids out in the gym as well with me, and we all play games. So we'll take turns. I'll say what we're doing, then my daughter will say what we're doing, my son will say what we're doing, and we all just do like a workout together, move together and stuff. And my daughter laughs at me because she's more flexible than me. So it's yeah, it's good. And it's something, if you do have kids, to sort of get it into their lives at a young age, that to make movement as part of their daily life. And just get them trying as many different things as possible. So my wee girl at the moment, she's trying ballet, and she's absolutely loving it. So yeah, just get the kids moving as well. Don't be letting if you're not an active person and you're really forcing yourself to be active, at least do the active stuff with your kids too, so that they don't grow up in that same sort of environment that you might have of not being active.
Yeah, break that vicious circle, definitely. What do you want to say to our listeners, especially the Romanian ones? Do you want to know how Romanians say hello to each other?
Yes,
they say salut.
Salut. Awesome.
Salut.
So okay. If they got this far, thank you very much for listening. I'll say that much.
Thank you to everybody, and thank you, Tom, for taking part in this. I really appreciate you. Obviously, it's not going to help your promotion or your publicity that greatly, because this is only a small channel compared to your following. So many thanks. I do appreciate your time, and thank you to everybody who made it this far. From myself and Tom, have a great day and a great week. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.